Hey friends, before we jump into today's episode, I just wanted to remind you to subscribe to the podcast if you're not already. And if you wouldn't mind, I would love it if you could share the podcast on social media. If you could also leave a rating and a review of the show, that would be so helpful to help us continue to grow and reach more people. And if you have any topics that you are interested in or want to hear more of the show, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is @CourtHopeWilson, or you can send me an email at hello@thetrailblazerjournals.com. Anyways, thank you again for listening to the show and for supporting me. I always appreciate it and would love your support to continue sharing the show online. All right, let's get into this week's episode. Welcome to the Trailblazer Talks podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Hope Wilson. This podcast is designed to encourage and equip you to be a trailblazer right where you are, to help you discover your God-given purpose and bring you talks each week that will inspire you to do what you were made for. Each week, we will walk through different topics to help you grow in your life, career, and leadership. My hope is that you'll become poised for purpose and walk in that daily. I hope each week you'll feel more equipped to be a trailblazer right where you are. So let's get into this week's episode. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. We're continuing in this series that we've been talking about with overconsumption and overspending and just being more intentional and trying to not let culture influence how we spend our money, how we spend our time, all of those different things. And this week I have a few things that I'm wanting to talk about that I've just noticed. And if you've been listening to this series or if you've been following me on Instagram, you know that during Lent, I've been doing a spending fast. And I've been doing that for a few reasons. One reason of just wanting to be more intentional with my finances and wanting to really bring God more into my finances and in the sense of not wanting to feel shame around not being further ahead than I am and things like that, and wanting to just really make sure that I'm being intentional and just bringing God more into my financial decisions. I feel like a lot of times I pray about finances or things like that, but I don't feel like I bring God into it as much as I could or should. And then another reason is just feeling that pressure to consume, feeling that pressure to spend, to use money to cope or whatever it is, and really just surrendering that to God and taking a step back from what culture tells us and really seeking after how God wants us to spend money and just seeking after His will in that area. And so it's been going really well. It's been great. I have not broken the fast. I am actually learning a lot through doing this fast. It's helped me to slow down more. It's helped me to really think more about where and how I'm spending money. And I'm also still staying within the parameters that I had outlined at the beginning of this spending fast. And that's been really beneficial too, because I realized that it's actually helped me to take a step back and see how my emotions are reacting to things that I see online, how my emotions are reacting to like coping and things like that. And I've realized in the past, whenever I've had a bad day or whenever I'm really stressed or just overwhelmed or overloaded, that my knee-jerk reaction is to go buy myself a treat. Whether it's a coffee, whether it's going to Target, whatever it is, I feel like culture has kind of trained us to think, oh, I've had a bad day, I need something to cheer me up. And people cope in all different ways. And some people cope through drinking, which is not healthy. Some people cope through spending money, which also cannot be healthy sometimes. And we cope in all different manners. And I think as a culture and society with influencers and all this different stuff, it's really trained us to think every time I have a bad day or every time I feel certain things, I should cheer myself up by buying something new because it creates a dopamine hit. And so whenever we have a bad day and we want to feel some dopamine, buying something makes us feel better. Spending money makes us feel better because we get something in return. And I've realized even just yesterday, I didn't really have a bad day per se, but it was just one of those days where I was having just, kind of boring day, so to speak, of there's not really much going on. I'm not really stressed, but at the same time, I also realize there's some anxiousness underlying about just future things, and it's all exciting future things, but there's just a lot of unknowns, and unknown with timing, unknown with location, just all these different things for future. And as someone who's a planner and as someone who likes to kind of be in control in some ways, I realized that I was like getting anxious about that because I can't control the future, obviously. And so part of me was like, oh, I just really want to go to Target and just buy whatever. And I didn't, thankfully, because I'm doing this spending fast, but it caused me to take a step back and recognize those tendencies of, oh, okay, I'm using this to cope because I'm feeling XYZ thing. But as I was thinking through all of this, and as I was scrolling on social media this past week, it kind of hit me because I was scrolling on TikTok, and I feel like TikTok it's good and bad because obviously, we learn a lot on TikTok. If you're on there, you learn different things. There's all kinds of things that I didn't realize could do certain things, like how to, use certain tools or how to do certain things in the kitchen or whatever. So it's like I learn a lot on TikTok, but it also has a high impact on spending, it seems, because there's constantly these videos of like Amazon trends, or you need this or you need that, and it's making us feel all certain kind of ways. And as I was scrolling on TikTok this week, I was getting hit with a lot of different health kind of videos, and it made me start thinking over the past few years how much money I have spent because I've come across a trend or something that held some kind of promise to me about, if you drink this, then you're gonna be healthier, or this will help your gut health, or you have this or whatever. And there's so many health trends that make us feel like there's something wrong with us, and it causes us to go and buy all these things. And that's happened to me over the years with so many different things. I've gotten pulled into health trends with essential oils and all this promise of, oh, if you sell essential oils, you'll have all this money on the side and you can make all this money. Look how much money I'm making. But first you have to buy all these products and live this clean lifestyle and yada, yada. And I kind of felt trapped to that several years ago because I was needing to make extra money, and it seemed easy at the time, and I was struggling with credit card debt at the time many years ago, and somebody had talked to me that I trusted had talked to me about selling essential oils and knew I needed money, and they kind of played into that. And so I ended up buying a bunch of essential oils, and they're great. They do great things, but the promise was empty. It took a lot more to actually try to make money, and I quickly gave it up because I realized I was spending way more money than I was making, and it caused me to go more into debt. And I was frustrated by that. And then there's the whole clean beauty movement, and I've tried different things with that. And again, if you sell essential oils, if you sell clean beauty products, I'm not trying to rip you guys apart, I promise. Just hear me out for a second. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of these trends cause us to feel like there's something wrong with us that we have to fix. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's just not fully attainable in our world. People make us feel bad if we don't believe the same way that they believe about certain things. If we aren't all sold out on the crunchy movement or the clean beauty movement or the whatever, insert current trend here movement, then they make us feel shamed or make us feel bad. And I've tried so many different trends thinking, oh, this is going to drastically make my life better. And at the end of the day, it didn't. At the end of the day, I had to realize that every person is different, and sometimes certain products work for some people, and that's great, but doesn't mean that it works for me. And so I had to realize this with some of these different trends because I would hear these different videos and they were really convincing of oh, you have gut problems because you have XYZ symptoms. And I did have some of those symptoms. So I was like, oh gosh, I need to buy these vitamins to heal my gut health. And then, there's different movements with, oh, you have to drink this in the morning, or you have to do that, or you have hormone issues because we all have a hormone imbalance and you need this. And I realized that a lot of these blanket statements are really more for specific people. A lot of this hormone stuff, it really mostly applies if you struggle with PCOS or endometriosis. And a lot of women do struggle with that, but I happen to not be one of those women. And so I was like all worried about whether my hormones were out of whack, but they were actually very much in tune and they were just fine. And so I because it was such a trend going on, I felt pressure to buy things to try to make sure that I was healthy or make sure that my gut health was fine or whatever. And so I think we just have to be so careful. And that's what I really want to talk about today is we have to be so careful with all these different trends and applying blanket statements and blanket trends to every single person. And so if you're listening to this today, I just want to give you that freedom of if you see something trending, it does not mean that you have something wrong with you. It does not mean that you have to give in to that trend and buy whatever the current new powder, vitamin, makeup, whatever it is that holds these different promises, and that you can manage your health and your clothes and all the different things in your life. You can manage that personally for however you are needing to manage it. And if you do have some health problem that you do need to fix, do the right things to get ahead of that and figure out what is wrong with you, if there truly is something wrong. But don't just listen to these TikTok videos or Instagram influencers who are trying to sell a product that convinces you have something wrong with you when really you're just fine. And I've done different things too. Like I tried, I wanted to get better in shape and I really wanted to build more muscle. And so I tried the macro, whatever that diet's called, where you count your macros, and I increased my protein and stuff, and it really messed up my gut. Like I was having really bad problems with my gut after that. And I've always not had problems with that area. And so I realized that just because it works for somebody else does not mean that it will work for me. And I don't need to spend, and like I spent money on that. I spent money on trying to do these different diets and things like that. And it's not that, I low-key do regret spending money on these different things and wish I had done a bit more research and didn't get just like swept up in the like results and the movement or the whatever it is. But I guess I'm saying all this today on this episode to give you freedom to make better decisions for yourself as well, to not feel pressure to give in to different trends, to not feel pressure to try different health things just because it's the current trendy thing. And even with clothes, I realized through my spending fast that I was buying different clothes just because they were trendy, but they weren't even really my style. And doing this spending fast has really given me time to figure out what I actually like, what kind of clothes fit me best. And whenever I do need to buy clothes again, which eventually I will, it's given me more freedom to buy clothes that fit me best, buy clothes that I like, and determine what my style is outside of all the trends going on. Because I realized I was giving in to so much fast fashion, and these things aren't lasting very long, and so there's so much being thrown at us all the time. And I just hope that this whole series is helping you see kind of areas that you can be more intentional with and be more mindful of your spending and of your time and of your consumption habits, and can really help you get to the root of why we do the things that we do and what we're really trying to solve. So I want to give us a few ways to be more intentional in this area whenever there's so many different trends. The first thing that we need to do whenever we are listening to different videos or experts or whoever we're listening to is to take a step back and really evaluate what it is we're listening to and whether that truly applies to us. And if needed, if you really think something's wrong with you, go talk to your doctor. And I know some people have trouble trusting their doctors in today's world. So if that is something that you have trouble with, I understand. But figure out a way to truly evaluate if something is actually wrong with you whenever it comes to these different health trends. And then on top of that, take time to really do research on that product and really make sure that, if it's a new product, give it time to run its course and wait out the trend. See if the trend is just hype or if it's truly actually helpful. And I think sometimes there's placebo effects, and we have to be careful with that, of people saying, oh my gosh, this is helping me so much. And I think we just have to be careful with that. And we don't have to go buy a bunch of expensive stuff to fix whatever's going on in our lives. And so I think if something seems like expensive or whatever, and it doesn't seem helpful, try some things that are more natural first. Look up alternatives and see, are there natural ways for me to get these different vitamins or supplements or whatever this thing is promising that I can implement in my life first to see if it helps. And then on top of that, I would say really evaluate if it's like a fashion trend or something like that, really evaluate the longevity of it. Like, where will you be going? What will you be attending where you might want to wear something that's more trendy? And what I'm trying to do now that I unfortunately have not done in the past is I don't want to spend a lot of money on trendy things, because that's why they're a trend. They come in and they come out quickly. And yeah, they may come back around in 10 years, but I want to make sure that I feel comfortable in the clothes that I'm wearing. And it truly feels like my personality. It feels like it fits my body type. And so really evaluating those different things of, is this trend a trend for me? Am I just trying to fit in? Why do I feel like I need to buy this thing to fit in? Like, I've done that with shoes. I've done that with clothes, and I wore them 1 or 2 times. And then when I went to donate it to Goodwill, I felt horrible because I was like, oh, why did I spend my money on this thing? So really taking time to pause and evaluate whether or not this trend is for you and whether or not you truly need to spend the money on it. Because there's some trends that come in and out so fast and they're gone within just one season. And so then you've spent that money and now you feel like you can't wear it again because now it's no longer trendy. So trying to buy more like timeless pieces, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm at the point in my life where I don't need to be so trendy. I want to be comfortable and I want to be fashionable, what feels fashionable to me. And I want to have more quality pieces, and I want to save up to buy more quality pieces that'll last longer and aren't dependent on trends. I want more timeless pieces in my closet. And then the last thing to do is to just give yourself space regardless of whatever you're buying. Put it on a list. Put it in your back pocket, hang on to it for like a week and see if you still truly feel the need to buy that thing. We don't need so many water bottles. We don't need so many Stanley cups. We don't need so many, whatever the current trendy thing is. And these influencers that are online and selling things, like, they're getting paid to sell these things. They get an incentive for everything you buy, but that doesn't mean you need to spend your money on whatever is trending, because like I mentioned, a lot of these things hold empty promises, and just by getting a new water bottle doesn't mean you're going to start drinking more water. Just by joining some fitness app or whatever doesn't mean you're going to work out more. Like, we have to really put in the work and have discipline and intentionality if we truly want to make life change. And we need to do more with what we have. Like, there's so much more you can do with the things you already have. And that's something that I am trying to do and I encourage you to do. So those are just a few practical ways that I feel like we can really take a step back and evaluate the different trends, the different things out there that are trying to influence us and essentially take our money. Really evaluate that. And if there's something that you're truly passionate about, like I mentioned earlier, if you truly are passionate about essential oils or clean beauty or cleaning products or whatever, that is great. But, don't make other people feel bad if they can't afford that, or if they don't want to do that, or if they don't see the same value in it as you. Like, we have to give space to each other to be passionate about the things that we're passionate about. And we have to stop pushing things on other people so hard. Like, I know that sometimes people push things because they really believe it can change their life. But if that person doesn't have the financial means to do that, to make those switches, like, we have to give them space to understand that they are dealing with their own thing and their own finances. And it's great that we love the thing we love, but they don't have to love it too. So I hope that this is helpful. Really, today's episode was just wanting to give us that freedom to really explore what these different areas are, what trends we might be giving into, and just to help us not feel alone in maybe some of these feelings. Because I have a feeling that I'm not the only one that feels overwhelmed by all the different health trends, by all the different things we see on social media that make us feel like we have to try the next greatest thing. We have to buy this next powder or whatever. And I've also realized too that if you wait long enough, a lot of these trends will be debunked. A lot of these trends will show that there's really not anything wrong with you. And all this stuff is not really that healthy for you anyways. A lot of these supplements and a lot of these powders and different things, they have a lot of ingredients that maybe appear clean but aren't actually clean. And so I think we just need to slow down a bit more. We need to take pause. We need to really assess our own individual needs and health, and not just feel like, oh, because this is trendy, I need to try it. And because a lot of them hold empty promises. And so I think that by us slowing down and really being more intentional and really thinking through what are our personal goals and what areas of things do we need to focus in on, that can really help us with not overspending, not over consuming, and not just giving in to every single trend that's going on. So I hope this conversation is just stirring thoughts in you to be intentional. And I hope that as we go through this series, next week will be the last episode for this topic of the series. And I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you guys have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time.